Hi, welcome to the halftime huddle. It's been a bit of a break since we've been doing this live, and I'm glad to get back into the seat, so to speak. This is halfway through the week. It's Mark Webb here from A Game Masterminds, who we do this, or try and do this on a Wednesday midday, because it's an opportunity to take a little bit of a midweek break, a midweek check. We all start the week with all kinds of cool, great intentions, and life can get in the way, and we're in the middle of the week, and this is what this is about for. We talk about various different things, and we've got some lovely guests to chat about how they get through it, and also a little bit about their business. And today is no different. I've got someone who I met across the networking a number of times, and I have brought him to our community to talk about and share his expertise in an area that I know we all we'll struggle a little bit with, and he will tell you his struggles as well with it. I'm sure as we talk about it. And he comes across and reminds us that probably, what he talks about is one of the things that isn't the case. If you want to get better at selling or sell more stuff, the secret is not necessarily to get better at selling. It's the art of telling, not selling, he talks about. So for those of you who haven't met him before, you'll have a great conversation. But without sort of spending too much time, let's bring Ian Genius to the front and say hello. Hi, Ian.
Hello there. Are you well?
Yeah, very good, very good. For those people who've noticed the little promo picture we had for this, Ian Genius is now sporting a lovely, wonderful beard. I did ask him when we talked about it whether it was prep for Santa, but he got.
It was just cold. We're going through a cold snap, and I thought I'd lag my face for winter just to keep me warm. And to be fair, you've always been an inspiration to me, Mark. So I wanted us to look almost identical. I've got perfect 20/20 vision, but I'm also wearing glasses, so we look the same. We've got the beard, marginally different shades of grey. The only way you can actually differentiate us is actually because I've got a tie on.
And this time you've only got one tie on, haven't you?
One tie, yeah. I do wear two ties. People often get 20 minutes into a meeting before they actually notice. They thought they were suffering with blurred vision or double vision from too many alcoholic beverages the night before. But no, there is only one.
And very good. And you're not wearing the elf hat that I've seen you occasionally sport when you're in the networking sessions that we've been along.
Yeah, the weight of my it's almost collapsing the table under the weight of tat and hats and two ties. And all sorts of things. I've got gadgets and gizmos and props all over the place. I'm very quiet and I'm withheld and shy. You did say this week's no different. I've got a lovely guest. Well, it is different. You haven't got a lovely guest. Unfortunately, it's Ian Genius. You're probably going to get, if you could hear the sound of the audience, loads of groaning. Oh, for God's sake. But yes, just one tie today and no props at the moment.
Good. Well, although I do enjoy the props, and I have seen you with them on various different talks you've been to. But normally, like I said, one of the things is key for this is to showcase and share what you do. So the best person to do that is you, and the best way to start is at the very beginning, as Julie Andrews once said in this. Another Christmas-related movie that we all often see. So, beginning, what's your origin story? Why do you do what you do? And I've heard a little bit about this before, but I'm sure those people who haven't heard from you or about you would love to understand why you do what you do and how you've got to where you are now.
Yeah. So, I've always loved problem solving. At school, I loved physics, maths, sciences. I've always loved problem solving problems, and I hadn't got a clue what I wanted to do after A level, so I did a degree. I studied a degree in mathematics, and then 3 years later, I've now got a degree in mathematics. I've got no job, no money, no clue. I've finally got to the end of the railway line of education. I've got my GCSEs, I've got my A level, I've got my degree. and I've run out of railway line, and so I had to take a job. So I decided it was Christmas of 1998, and the only job that was pretty easy to get, that was moderately well paid, was a salesman. So I became a salesman at Vodafone Retail in Nottingham Town Centre in 1998. There was only one slight problem I had with being a salesman, and that is I love buying. I absolutely love buying, but I hate being sold to. I detest being sold to. I love buying. I used to sit upstairs, and when Eurosport used to come off the television in the early 90s at 10 o'clock, it would go to these American infomercials, which would try to sell you car polish and you could literally try to set fire to your car and you could still buff out a shine. It would sell you fishing lures, so it would mimic the behaviour of a real small fish. And I would shout down the staircase to my mother, "Mum, we need this knife set. Mum, we need these fishing lures." I love buying. I don't even like fishing, right? I've got no interest in fishing. I've never gone fishing. I couldn't care less. I think it would bore me to death. But I love buying. They made buying so exciting. But I absolutely detest being sold to. I hate being put under pressure. I don't like closing techniques. I don't like buying under duress, regretting with buyer's remorse. I don't want to be made uncomfortable. But now I was the salesman. I wasn't confident selling myself. I was uncomfortable bringing up the price. I refused to put people under duress, the same duress that I helped. So I was trying to sell, and I didn't want to get better at selling. So I had a problem. How do I sell without being any good at selling? So I had a problem, and my background was problem solving. So I thought to myself in 1998, 21 years of age, what if I could solve this problem? What if I could make it so easy to buy that I didn't need to get better at selling? What if I could make it so effortless to buy that clients closed the sale themselves? What if I could get them to say, "I want to buy it from you," so I never needed to say, "Do you want to buy it from me?" I had the fear of rejection. I didn't want them saying, "No, I don't want it." I didn't want to put them under duress, and I didn't want to be rejected. But what if I could make it so easy to buy that clients said, "I want to buy it"? And what if that person told 3 people how easy it was to buy? Ian didn't sell to me. He helped me make a better buying decision. So that's back in 1998, and over 26 years, I've found ways to remove selling from sales, how to sell without selling. So my name is Ian Genius, with an Ian Genius alternative to selling. So that's my backstory.
Yeah, and I'm sure there are a lot of people who start a business and start working for themselves, come across the same sort of challenge, and knowing that there is a better way, or a way that they can help people to, like you say, make a better buying decision, rather than coming across salesy and pushy, is a great idea. And I know you talk about how what are the steps to do that, really, basically.
Yeah. Can I just give an example of buying versus selling?
Brilliant. Yes, I'd love that.
So, as you know, I've got slightly unhealthy obsessions with a lot of things. Nothing dangerous, but I've got a slightly unhealthy obsession with printers. Right, a pretty safe hobby. Right, I've always enjoyed buying printers. So I go to a national store to look at their printer selection. There is 2 printers that catch my eye. One is £100 and one is £130. So I thought this was a valid question, right? I'm looking to buy. I want to make a good choice. I said, what is the difference between the £130 printer and the £100 printer? And the salesman said, it saves you money in the long run. I said, that's brilliant. How much money would it save me? He said, I don't know. I said, when you said a long run, how long is a long run? He said, I'd be guessing. So I'm trying to work out whether it's worth paying £30 more for a printer, and it's going to save me, I don't know how amount of money over, it's impossible to say amount of time. As a buyer, that is not making my choice easy. If I know it's difficult, but if it said, typically from my experience, you might save £20 a year. Most people have a printer for 5 years. If you save £20 a year for 5 years, 20 times 5 is 100. Yes, it's £30 more for the printer, but over the time of the printer, realistically, you might save about 100 quid. You've spent 30 quid to save 100. You're actually effectively 70 quid better off. I could see the logic. People buy on emotions and justify with logic. I can see why that would be better. I could have made a choice, but he couldn't give me anything. So because he couldn't make it easy to buy, he started trying selling techniques. So if he just made it easy, I'd have gone, I want that one or I want that one. Very easy. Even I am not so stupid that Ian Genius, Earth's thickest genius, can construct the sentence, I would like to buy that, please. Even I can do that. I know people will think I can't, but even I could say, I'd like to buy this one, please. But he can't make it easy. So now he says, which one do you want, the blue one or the green one? Now, I actually don't know which of the two. So just because you're forcing me to make a choice, which one do you want? Puts me in a fight or flight. I've either got to say, I don't want it, and I know he's going to say, why don't you want it? And the conversation will go on forever. Or I make up some old cobblers like I need to run it past my wife, even though I'm not married. Or I move my wallet from my front pocket to my back pocket and say, I'm very sorry, but I haven't brought my wallet today. I need to go back home. And he'll go, I just saw you move it, right? Shall we take it to the till then? Someone will call, oh, that's the assumptive close. Assume they already wanted. That is not making my choice easy. It's forcing me to make a choice. People hate being put under duress. If the choice was easier, if he could have made it easier to buy, he wouldn't have needed to get better at selling. Mark, I don't know, do you like gadgets or gizmos?
Oh, absolutely. I love a gadget. I'm a
gadget,
forever
right?
buying a gadget. And
Let's
you're right.
Yeah. Imagine there's a gadget that you really thought was great and you walk into a shop and it's on a half price offer. It's brilliant. Have you ever gone in, seen an offer so fantastic, you've picked up the box, you've walked to the till and said, I'd like to buy this, please.
With no intervention from a salesman, yeah.
Yeah, they keyed it in and they went, there we go, sir. How good did they need to be at selling?
Not at all. You're right.
Not at all, because it was so easy to buy that they didn't need to get better at selling. If you have to ask someone, do you want to buy my things? You're insulting their intelligence because they were too stupid to even think of it without it. And you're having to force them to choose it because it wasn't easy enough to choose.
No,
so getting better at selling is not the solution anyone needs. It's just what they believe is the right solution.
Absolutely, and that's a great that's a great message for a lot of people, like I said, who don't like the idea and feel squirmy and awkward about the idea of doing the, like you say, which color do you want type of closing sales that they've heard and they've seen and they've been on the other end of, knowing that they just need to essentially be clearer about what they're trying to sell, so that it essentially sells itself. Which I know is one of your big, yeah.
It's a very easy reframe, right?
Yeah.
If I said to you, does your service help people?
Yes. Yeah, indeed.
Yeah. Do you know any business that doesn't help someone? So they've got, I'm struggling with my finances. This person offers financial advice. I'm struggling with my website. They help me build a website. I've got a website, but it's not getting enough traffic. They help me get more traffic. Every business helps.
Yeah.
Right? So people love helping. Typically, if you've set your own business up, whatever you are, a graphic designer, a SEO expert, a marketing strategist, that's the thing you love helping more than any other thing in the wide world, right? But before they can use you, first they must choose you. And to get them to choose you, you think you need to get better at selling. But most people, if they're honest, I was in sales 26 years and I detest selling. So is it possible that someone who hasn't been in selling for 26 years may also detest selling? Very possibly, right? But if you love it, fair play to you. But we know we love helping. But even if you claim to love selling, and I'd be dubious, less than helping, right? But before they can use you, they have to choose you. We need to help them make the choice so we can help them with our service. It's not selling, helping. It's helping, helping. Help them to choose you so that you can help them with what you do. There's no selling involved. We're helping people to make better choices. When they go to your cheaper competition, when they try to do it themselves badly, when they do nothing, did they get help? No. Or bad? Did they make a good decision? No. So can you help them to make a better decision? That's helping. It's got nothing to do with selling.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I know you spend a lot of time trying to help people to be less confused about how they describe this stuff. I know you talk about. I've heard you talk about VoIP and voice over internet,
Yeah.
And how that doesn't really help people understand what the hell the benefit of that is for them.
No one knows that this is the absolute core of every problem, right? The reason everyone can help in their industry is because they are the expert. The reason they can help is they're the expert. They weren't always the expert. They learned by failing. They've had the same problems that everyone else had, but they focused on this and they got good at it, and now they're the expert. And they believe when they pitch for 30 seconds, for 60 seconds, for 2 minutes, for 7 minutes, when they believe their value is obvious. In their head, their pitch is clear and simple because they're the expert. Everything is simple to the expert. But the audience are beginners. They don't understand how your solution helps them. They don't understand their problem. They don't even think they've got a problem. They are the beginners. So what is simple and clear to the expert is unclear and complicated to the beginner. And complicated leaves people confused, and confused people don't buy. See, I know you're mad keen on cars, and I was having this chat with Mark a little bit earlier, and we were just talking about, obviously you've got the thrush plate. So where you've got the thrush plate, if you route to the lookout valve with the frimp spoke, you can pretty much get rid of all the glitching, providing you fully rim the satchel arm first. I hope that makes sense. And of course it makes no sense because it is nonsense. So when someone says, we do long tail keyword research, to the expert, that's blindingly obvious. To the beginner, those words have never left their mouth. No one who's struggling with a website has said, I need long tail keyword research. They've gone, my website is terrible. They're the words. If someone said, I do long tail keyword research, I would not know whether to go to them with a broken heart, a broken computer, or a broken leg. To them it's easy, and blind it's numbingly easy, and to everyone else it means nothing. We do VoIP, which is one I always use because you hear at every networking meeting, and you don't know what VoIP is. So you say, I'm very sorry, I don't know what VoIP is. And they go, I'm so sorry, because they've just realised. And you go, sorry, it's voice over internet protocol. And now, because you don't want to look like an idiot 2 times in a row, you go, thank you very much for explaining it so clearly. That really helped. And no one without Spock ears knows what voice over internet protocol is. It's just 4 words. No one uses the word protocol in any other world. 10 years have passed before that word was even used. What the hell is voice over internet protocol but gibberish? People say, I'm a fractional this, that and the other. I've done a degree in maths. I know a fraction is a half, a quarter, an eighth. What is a fractional COO? Firstly, I've got fractional, which I don't really know what it means. COO, I think, is a chief operating officer, but I don't know what that is. Glue 2 bits of nonsense together, you get more nonsense. Long tail keyword research, voice over internet protocol. I'm a fractional COO. Some people say we do ISO 659384218. Who the hell outside them has memorized all the ISO codes so that they in their head go, that's something to do with ladders? It's mental. It's mental. You're not speaking to experts, you're speaking to beginners, and no one's got an absolute clue what you're whittling on about.
Absolutely.
Nothing.
No, I'm guilty of it myself. I'm guilty of making assumptions that people I'm talking to have the same level of understanding of what I do as I do. So I can use all the terms and terminology and jargon, etc., knowing that it'll hit like like an arrow to the target when I know it's going to hit like a brick to the bottom of the swimming pool.
And if they did know it as well as you, they wouldn't need your help.
No.
See, this is essentially, you know the reason they need your help is because they don't know it like you do. So how do you speak in the language of the client? How do you speak in the language of the beginner? And this is the impossible difficulty. If you see these pictures of someone in a cartoon cell, a jail, and the keys are 2 meters away, but their arm stretches 1.5 meters or whatever it does, right? They can't reach the keys, but someone on the outside can pick up the keys and let them out a piece of piddle, right? Very, very easy, but inside you can't reach it. When you are the expert, you are speaking to the beginner. When the expert makes their message simple, brilliant, but it's not simple enough. Simple enough is there. Simple is here. I've done a degree in maths. So if I went easy to A level, it's easy now. I've gone from degree to A level. But if you've only done GCSE, it's still too hard. If you didn't do GCSE, it's miles too hard. It's not about whether your pitch is easy. It's whether it's easy enough. And you can't. It doesn't matter what industry you're in. And I'm no better than anyone else. In fact, I've failed more times than anyone else has tried, because in my world, I can't put myself back in the shoes of the beginner either. You can't pretend. You can't unknow everything you know. You can't come back to yourself as if you never knew it in the first place. Have you ever seen Sixth Sense?
Yeah, yes.
If you watch it the second time, if I'm ruining this for anyone at home, tough luck. It's been out 30 years. You've had a chance to watch it by now. He dies in the end. He goes to open the door handle. His hand phases through the red door handle and he realises a ghost. You watch it the second time. It's a very good film. And in every scene, it's still a very good film, but you know he's not actually there. He's a ghost. You can't unknow the twist in a film any more than you can pretend to be the beginner again. You can try to see through the eyes of the beginner, but you can't be the beginner. You can't not know everything you know. There'll be something that you still have forgotten about that they didn't quite get. And this is the impossibility that every business faces. No matter how simple they make it, they can't make it simple enough that where it's actually for the beginner. And that's the big problem that everyone faces. And that's where I can help out, because I'm not an expert in their world. I know nothing of car maintenance, of wealth management, of marketing strategies, of SEO. My superpower is my incredible stupidity. I have no idea. Thank you for agreeing. I have no idea what they're talking about. My only skill is simplifying. They tell me it, and rather than everyone just nodding along and going, I get it, please don't ask me a question because I've no idea, I just go, what are you talking about? When you said that, what did you mean? Because that's not what I was thinking. When you said that, I was thinking this. Just because people are nodding and agreeing, when people nod and agree, only one of two things is happening. One, they're nodding because they don't want to look like a prat, and they don't get it, but they don't want to look stupid, right? Or two, they think they get it, but they don't. So they're agreeing with something else they've assumed.
Absolutely.
You can't win. And no matter how hard you try, you can't simplify your own message. It is impossible.
Absolutely. And to be honest, as you started talking about this, I was thinking you're stuck in this impossible idea of not being able to get simplified. And what is the best way to find out that, but to find someone who can help you challenge your assumptions and ask those silly questions and understand they're happy to do the being looking stupid twice with a VoIP, or 3 times or 4 times or as many times as it is, to so they can get a clear message, and this is where you step in.
Well, again, the stupidest question. So all we want people to do is make good choices. Nothing more sinister than that. If they make a good choice, they take our help and we can help them. But before we can help them, they have to choose our help. We have to help them make a good choice. To make a good choice, they need to understand. The more you understand, the less you guess. The less you understand, the more you guess. And most people don't like guessing for money.
Yeah.
So if I think you can help me, but 70% of my choice whether you can help me or not is a guess, am I going to spend money for a 70% guess? Am I knackers? It's not happening. 70% knowledge, 30% guess, I'm increasing my chances, right? So to make a good choice, you need to understand the choices. You need to understand the information. The more you know, the better you understand. So how do you check understanding? This is what people do. They say, does that make sense? Is that clear? I hope you understand, right? Unfortunately, there is only one answer to the question, does that make sense? And the answer is yes, because the other answer is no, I'm thick. So even when someone, and I don't care how you structure the question, I don't say, does that make sense? I say, is that clear? It's the same question, you fool, right? You've reworded it, but it's the same fundamental problem. They can only say, yes, I get it, but you know that they don't, because that's why they've got the problem. So their understanding's pretty thin. So they're making assumptions, or they lie to you and say, yes, I get it, but they don't. Or they say, I'm a little bit lost. And you explain it simply, but then unfortunately a couple of seconds later it gets too hard again. And then you say, does that make sense now? There's no way in God's green earth they're putting their hand up again, and keep exposing it over and over and over again. So now they act. Thank you very much for explaining it so clearly. That really helped. Please, God, don't ask me anything. I've no idea what you're talking about. If you have to ask the question, does that make sense? You already know it doesn't make any sense, which is why you asked the question. So at that moment, when you say, does that make sense? You say, excuse me a moment. I'm going to take myself outside and flog myself. So pause the meeting, walk outside, give yourself a good flogging, come back in, apologise for asking the stupidest question ever asked, and then make it easy enough to understand. There is one way around it. You could say, have I explained it clearly? Because that would indicate that I knew it was a bit tricky, wouldn't it? Yep. I know it's a bit tricky, so I'm going to give you permission to say, have I explained it clearly? Which sounds great in principle, but it's even worse than does that make sense? Because have I explained it clearly? At least if I said, does that make sense? You're pinning your own stupidity, I don't get it. If I've said, have I explained it clearly? You've got to say, no, Ian, you've explained it like a prat, which you're not going to do because you're insulting me and I'm too stupid to get it, so insulting you. Right? You can't win. There is nothing you can do. The only way that you can't check understanding in any question whatsoever, the only thing you could actually ask someone is, tell me what you think I've told you. Repeat back everything I've told you so I know. And everyone loves that level of duress. You're blaming me for not understanding your crummy pitch. It's not my fault. So I would suggest you never do that. Do it with a friend. Never say to someone, how do you think my service will help you? They'll never use you in a million years. The only way to make sure they understand is to make it so simple to understand that it is impossible to not understand it, therefore completely eliminating the question, does that make sense? Because does that make sense doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make useless.
So it's sounding to me again like you're backing yourself into one of those catch-22 positions where you're the expert, so trying to explain it to someone who isn't the expert is difficult, if not impossible, to get down to that level. Asking them whether they understand when you get into that level, to use that as feedback to get to that level is impossible to get to do. So what is in your mind the way to get to the stage where you are explaining these things as simple as you can?
There's two ways, right? The first way everyone's got a mate that they would think is a bit thick, right? Everyone's got a mate that they think's a bit thick, or an aunt, or an uncle, or somewhere like that, right? What you want to do is find the person that never got it. 5 years later, he's still telling people what you do, and he couldn't be further from the truth. But you're good friends, right? And this person has no intention of taking what you are taking. And say, Steve, can I? It's probably not called Steve, but let's imagine he's called Steve. Steve, here's a pint, mate. Can I just do a 60-second pitch? All I want you to do is not tell me that you like it. I don't care. What I want you to do is tell me what you think I meant in that 60 seconds. I want you to tell me as if you were Chinese whispering to the next person. If he can't get anywhere close, you're dead. You've got to start again, right? If he gets some of it right and some of it wrong, just only focus on the bit that is all mixed up. It's gobbledygook. And keep explaining it until they get it. You mean like this? And rob their words and swap your words for their words. You're now speaking in the language of the beginner, not speaking in the language of the client, of the expert. People don't want to be impressed. People want to understand. I mean, recently I was on a course of I was diagnosed with Prestididwix congena, and I was put on a course of thiabisalin, which is a bisterbal cradabolic amphetamide. I know you know it better, Mark, as a beta-contained trip nutrient. Other people at home probably know it better as a dimesmeric Anderson phosphate. Nonsense. You might be very impressed or worried that Ian Genius has gone to the great lengths to memorize this nonsense. But it's not what I say, it's what you understand by what I say. And I just spoke for 20 seconds and it meant nothing. I might as well have said it in Japanese. I might as well have said, "Watashi wa gaijin no seito desu ne." It would mean nothing more or less. But speak to your friend, tell him 60 seconds, ask him, do us a favour, tell me what you think I just told you. Find the bits that they didn't get, and then keep working on it and then go, right. Use that instead. Talk in the language of the audience, not the expert.
So yeah, that sounds. I like it. I mean, we've got someone discussing here about how when she uses, does it make sense? She tries to add an often bit where she says she wants to make sure it came out of her mouth clearly. She wants to make sure it explained it clearly. So, but even that, you would say, or would you say that even that is still?
If you ask, does that make sense? Because you want them to, it doesn't matter. Then people are going to lie. Just you only have to reverse the tables. The last time someone was telling you about bioresonance, and you had no idea what they were talking about, and you're in a room with 5 other people, and they says, does that make sense? Maybe the first time you said, I'm a little bit lost, but you're in a room and you're under duress. When they re-explained it the second time, and it made no more to you than it ever did the first time, I bet you went, oh yeah, I get it now, and you're thinking, I have no idea.
Yeah, I suppose half of that comes from a situation where you're talking to someone for whom they know there's a connection between you, what you do, and what they want. So there is a certain level of shortening the gap, I suppose, between you. Whereas opposed to some people, like you say, bioresonance and stuff, they don't know that they don't need it. So there's a level of a wider gap between what you do. So, I would imagine that if there's a tiny gap and they're coming to you with a sort of semi-need that they think they know what that you are the person to help them, then is that a case where it may be still okay for you to potentially ask them if you've made it clear or not, or is you still at the stage?
It is utterly pointless. And again, just catch yourself how many times you get asked the question and how many times either you're trying to fill in some of the blanks with a bit of a guess, or you're just going to flat out lie. Does that make sense? Doesn't achieve anything whatsoever, right? Mark, can you smell onions?
No.
What, even when they're under your nose?
Oh, I can. Yes, I can. Yes, yeah, indeed.
Why did you say no then?
Because I
I
couldn't
asked
smell
you, can
onions
you
right
smell
then.
onions? But I didn't say right then.
And now you're
I
right.
said, can you smell onions?
So I made an assumption. You're right. And
Okay,
you didn't
you made
know
an
the assumption.
right?
Yeah.
So the question, you talked about, if that gap is tiny, right? How old are you, Mark, roughly speaking?
Old enough to know better in the 60s.
But you know an onion has existed for a very long time. I
It
haven't
has
chucked
done, yes, it did.
bioresonance at you. You know about onions, and you've probably had a few onions in your life, either in some form or another.
Yeah.
So you couldn't ask a much simpler question than, can you smell onions, right? But you assumed I meant now, and you assumed I meant in the room you're in. But my question was, can you smell onions? So in this world, the question is very easy. There's no way of getting it wrong, but you didn't give away what you were assuming, and I didn't. Yep. So it's my fault because I'm asking the question. It's not your fault, right? If I'm the master in this world and I'm asking, can you smell onions? And I know the assumption is that you think now and in the room, my fault. It's not the beginner's fault for making a mistake. It's the expert's fault for not making it easy enough. So when you're asking what you deem as a simple question, and when they're giving you a simple answer back, what if they're not answering the same question you're asking?
Yeah.
Because remember, fundamentally, if they knew the problem as well as you, they wouldn't have the problem. So they're in your world, even if they're a beginner. My mate went to a doctor's, right? He was suffering with a bad neck. And he said, what are you doing at night time? He says, I'm really doing nothing, doctor. I'm doing nothing at all. I'm not lifting weights. I'm not playing sport. I'm not on any medication. My neck hurts. So the doctor gave him a cream. And 3 months later, the pain had subsided from an 8 to a 3 out of 10, but it was still a dull ache all the time. He went to see a different doctor because he'd lost trust in the first doctor. And he said, I'm on this medication. It's gone from an 8 to a 3, but I'm still got a dull pain and it's doing my nut in. So the bloke said, look, just tell me, I know you're doing nothing of a night time, but what are you doing? He says, all I do, doctor, is watch the telly. And just tell me about that. He says, well, the TV's over here, my chair's over here. He said, can I just check? Your TV's over here, but your chair is facing that direction. He said, yeah. So are you turning your head 90 degrees to watch the telly? He went, yeah. He said, there's nothing wrong with your sodding neck. Straighten your chair up, right? This bloke had a neck problem. All he knows is his neck hurting. He had not made the connection between it being something as simple as a chair being turned round. If we're expecting the people with problems to know how these what seemingly seem like unrelated incidents are linking to the problem, if they knew the problem that well, they wouldn't have the problem. And if you ask what's a simple question and I don't care how strong they go, I know what you're talking about. Just like the onions, they think they do, but they're not right. Does that make sense? Doesn't make any sense. The fact you've asked it, you know it doesn't make sense, which is why you're asking it. If it made sense, why are you asking the question? Because you know it doesn't make sense and you're hoping they're going to be honest and say no. But no one's going to do that. And if you don't think that's right, you find out how many times you say it, yes, when you know the answer is no, especially under duress. I reckon 3 times a day, people will either go to say or hear, does that make sense in some form? Is that clear? Do you understand? 3 times a day for roughly 300 days of a year is roughly 1,000 times a year. If you've got 40 years left, that's 40,000 times you will hear or say, does that make sense or its variance? And Ian Genius will pop into your head every single time. So just remember that from now till you finally leave this earth, Ian Genius will pop into your head 40,000 times if you keep saying, does that make sense? Because it is beyond moronic.
So ultimately, like you say, you need either Ian Genius or a mate who's happy to be the simple man.
Or a 6-year-old child.
Or a 6-year-old child, yes.
If you went to if you were doing a pitch and you'd simplified it, and then you'd asked to go into a primary school and do a presentation for the children, would you simplify your pitch? Would you simplify your pitch to a 6-year-old child?
Definitely, yes.
They're not thick, are they? They're just 6.
Yeah.
Would you speak slightly slower to a 6-year-old child? Give them chance to hear it and digest it.
Yes.
Would you repeat certain key things so that you know children learn through repetition, times tables, spellings? Would you repeat certain key lines to reinforce the point?
Yes, I'm sure. Yes.
In children's mathematics, it's not 3 plus 3, it starts 3 dogs plus 3 dogs, because a child has no concept of 3 and 3, but they understand 3 dogs. Would you use crayons, drafts, chess pieces, cups to help the child visualize the problem? If you made it simple enough for a 6-year-old child to get, would you ever have to ask the question, does that make sense? Do you ever sell to anyone younger than the age of 6?
No, you're right. Probably
If
yes.
you could make your message so simple that a 6-year-old child could see the value, they wouldn't only see your price. The reason people see price, in the absence of value, clients always see price. Whether that's they come on board, they take your low ticket service, you've got 5 services, they take 1, they ask for discount, they take 6 months to come on board. To budget it, they saw price. When 8 out of 10 conversations end with, we'll think about it, which is not what they're doing, by the way, that's a no. 8 out of 10 go to your cheaper competition, price, do it themselves badly and waste their own time, price, do nothing at all, price. Why did they see price? Because the value wasn't obvious. Whose job is it to show the value? Is it the expert's job to show it, or the beginner's job to try and find it? Don't blame the beginner, it's the experts. Why didn't they see the value? Because it wasn't simple and clear enough. Find your mate. Find your aunt that knows nothing. Find a 6-year-old child. Tell them what you do. Can they repeat it back to you in a way that makes sense? Rob it and say that instead. You didn't need to get better at selling.
Yeah, better explaining and telling. Yes, it sounds... indeed, as you explained all this kind of stuff, it also again takes away the it takes away the pressure to sell, and introduces a pressure to explain better, and that's probably, like I said, another thing that loosens it a little bit, because it's actually, you want to explain, you want to help, you want to support people. So being able to explain it better, and finding a 6-year-old child, I can just imagine now a lot of people wander around parks trying to look for 6-year-olds to try and say, explain if they don't have any.
For God's sake, don't.
I know, absolutely.
I got arrested. It's Ian Genius's fault. Now I'm just going to put. I love an exception to a rule, right?
Yes.
So there is no exception to does that make sense, right? Argue amongst yourself if you don't believe me, but there isn't. There really isn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the best salesperson of your business, you know, when you get a really hot referral from someone who's used you, someone who likes you, someone who's used you, you've solved their problem, you've made an impact, they know you, the service, the impact, the problem, everything, and they're almost buying before. If the problem that most people have is that I don't know you, I don't trust you, you've got all of that because they knew them and you by association, right? The best salesperson of your business is never you, it's your loyal cheerleaders. No one goes to a film because Universal Studios say our film is brilliant. They go to the film because the mate goes, it is amazing. If Universal Studios said, go to see our film, it's so fantastic, you'd go sod off. When your mate says it, the more passionately they sell it, the more likely you'll probably listen and at least check it out. So when you speak to someone, even if that person in front of you was super knowledgeable about your service and the problem, and again, they won't be, but let's pretend in this world that they really got it, right? They are going to speak to a husband, a wife, a friend, a mate in the pub, the managing director, financial director, someone else. It might be just for an opinion. It might be out of politeness. It might because they need authority. It might be you're speaking to the managing director. He needs no authority, can make the decision right there, but he still runs it past his colleagues and his financial director out of good practice.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he only got 60% of what you were telling. And by the time he retold the story to the next person, it's Chinese whispered and it's now 30%. Then someone puts an objection in, he's no idea how to answer this objection, and it dies. So no, I don't care if the person in front of you does not need it 6-year-old simple. Who are they explaining it to? Unless you're sitting in a tree stalking them, you've no idea. But if you can make it 6-year-old simple when they explain it, are they more likely to explain it in a clear, confident, simple way? Yeah. Is the next person more likely to get it? Yeah. So it doesn't matter. Even if that person's, he knows it. Yeah. Who else are you speaking to? Don't know. Make it so simple it is impossible to not understand.
Absolutely. So yeah, and like I said, that sounds a simple thing. Yet, yeah, as a lot of things are simple. Simple isn't always easy. So I think that's one of the challenges that I think a lot of small businesses would find is to make it simple. Simple takes effort and takes some kind of challenge, because, like you say, it's easy, and probably that's one of the reasons why people probably find they slip into this jargon, this stuff. It's easy to start talking in in ways where they find it easy to communicate. So it's effort. So
it is about that. But also, people want to say, they want to know they want to know that I know what I'm talking about.
Yes. Yes.
So I'll use clever words and official phrases because they'll be impressed and they'll know I really know what I'm talking about. Although that might be true, this person knows what they're talking about. I don't know what they're talking about, so I've no interest.
Yeah. No, so indeed.
They are impressing people. If you're at a spectrum from one end to the other, impressing people at one side and understanding at the other, they're on the polar opposite sides of the spectrum. They don't want to be impressed. They're trying to make a good choice. Yeah. To make a good choice, they need to understand. Make it easier to understand.
No. Yeah.
They don't know how you solve it, but in most cases, they don't know they've even got a problem.
Yeah.
If they don't know what problem they're meant to even have, why would they care about your solution? If you went to a doctor's and they said, Mark, I've got a cream for you, and you hadn't even told him what's wrong, he'd be going, you don't even know what's wrong yet. Most people are selling a solution to no problems. They tell you what they do, but I don't know what I'm meant to go to them with.
Mm.
So help them understand what problem they're meant to even have in the first place would be a good start.
Absolutely. And I think you're right in that respect. Spending some time working on that, and like I said, as long as you don't go wandering around playgrounds and picking 6-year-olds to try and explain what you're doing, finding some way of
cool leader, cool leader on the front of the press. That's suddenly there's all these people following doing that.
That's right. Yeah. Ian Genius, the gang leader of the business owners who are spending all their time talking to 6-year-olds in playgrounds.
Talk to your own 6-year-old. It doesn't have to. It could be 9 or 10. As long as they're less, if you've got your own 10-year-old son and 12-year-old daughter, great. They haven't got to the point where they're buying things and selling things and running businesses. So whatever you say, they'll know less than any of the people you're speaking to. So you now won't assume they know this, that, and the other. You will already by default. When you spoke to Granny, go back in time, I know it was probably 1 or 2 years before, but when you used to speak to Granny, would Granny ever say things like that? Speak slowly, love, because Granny can't hear you. Would she say, speak clearly, Mark, because Granny's deaf, right? It doesn't matter what you say if they can't hear it.
No.
Talk to a 6-year-old, talk to a granny, slowly, clearly, simply, give examples, repeat yourself. Do the same thing you would do if you were trying to get Granny to understand it or a 6-year-old child.
Indeed. I, as you're saying this, I've now thought of a great business model for hiring out and renting out your grannies and your children. Absolutely. As sounding boards for the new stuff. Brilliant. I like I said, I'm pretty certain that there are a lot of people out there hearing this will think, yeah, okay, I need to go and find find some way of simplifying my message, because I use VO VoIP and I use this and I use all kind of stuff. I mean, even in my field, we talk about facilitators and masterminds as holding the space for whatever that means. I know, indeed, woof, straight over. But yeah, no, so definitely I need to go back and spend a bit more time finding some children and finding some other simple people to explain things to. One of the other things we do on this podcast is, and I know it's another challenge, especially for small businesses, not just trying to find. And this is another example of where they need to find people to run their ideas across, who don't want to buy their ideas necessarily, who just are there potentially to give them some level of feedback back. But it can be a challenge, when you're sat in. I know you and I probably just sat in a screen in a room somewhere to try and get out and find people to do that. What I mean, I know we've come across at networking. What else do you do to keep in contact with people and keep yourself fresh?
Yeah, so I mean, I do the online networking that you do.
Yeah.
I do a little bit of face to face. It's probably 80% online, 20% face to face, because obviously getting there, it's a lot more time consuming. I've got a lot of good friends that they might have been clients in the past, or they might have just been good friends, and if they are a good friend, you can both help each other out, with no, I love helping people. Now, some people don't. They only want to sell their stuff. But there's a lot of very good people around that will happily help you, and they'll help you back, right? So you just say, look, can we have a little meet up? Just be absolutely transparent is what I've got. I'm trying to tell people what I'm doing, but I know I get it, but that doesn't matter. Would you help me? And they might, once you pull your chest open, reveal your chest and reveal your frailties, people don't mind admitting their own frailties. If people are always trying to be better than each other all the time, but if you say, I'm really struggling to one of my pals, I'm really struggling, I'm trying to simplify this, I know I'm the worst person to do this because everything's simple to me, I've got no frame of reference. Would you give me 20 minutes and I'm just going to tell you a 1-minute pitch and try your best to destroy it?
Yeah.
Don't be surprised if they go, actually, that would be helpful to me because I've got the same problem.
Yeah.
That's about good people. Do you know people that aren't, they love helping people as much as they love being helped, and there's a lot of good people around.
No, absolutely. And I was on a conversation before, and they were talking about win-wins and how you can collaboration between sort of business owners, and that at its basic level is one of the simplest ways of collaborating. I'll share you my pitch, you destroy it in as much as you can do, and where I get confusing or where you get lost, and we'll do the same. So that's a simple way of just spending a bit of time sharing and collaborating together without any feeling of it's quid pro quo, scratch backs, you sell my stuff, you refer me to, all that kind of stuff. It's none of that selling. It's just, you help me, I'll help you, we'll just run each other.
But again, if I was trying to refer a good friend of mine, the more I knew, really understood and knew, the better my referral will be. So if my idea of what he does is wishy-washy, I'm in a very bad position to recommend him anyway. I might think he is brilliant, but if I can't explain his service well, I'm only selling half the game. He's brilliant, but I don't really get it.
Know what he's doing.
Now, if they're spending 20 minutes explaining what they mean, and I go, oh, you mean like, I get it now, I'm in an infinitely better position. Just one quick thing. So my background, as I've said, mathematics, right? So I'm people buy on emotions and then they justify with logic. Now my background and framing is logical. I'm a man of numbers and logic. I'm not even totally convinced I'm human, right? So emotionally, I'm probably a complete battered old mess and scarred, right? But I'm trying to find problems. If someone says I convert 4 out of 10, good. I'm wanting to know why 6 out of 10 said no. If you convert 4 out of 10, but only 2 took what you recommended, good. But why didn't the other 2? I'm trying to find the problems. So most people say our sales are really great. what are you getting? Let's say it's 7 out of 10. But the only way to improve is to turn the 8th, the 9th, and the 10th. Or do it quicker or have them take more.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find the problems in everything. So which is why I'm saying, if I was working with someone on my pitch, don't tell me what you like, because that's already good.
Yeah.
The only way it's going to get better is you tell me the bits that you don't like, that make no sense, that are too vague, that are too complicated. If you got 6 out of 10 on your spelling, firstly, the ambition is, do you want 7, 8, 9, and 10? If you don't want it, there's no point looking.
Yeah.
But so the first thing you need is ambition. Does the person, whatever realm you're working in, do they want to do better? Now, if they claim to be perfect in every way, let's say in my world, every conversation they have says yes, they say yes to everything and they charge an infinite amount of money, I'm dealing with a pathological liar or someone who's even more delusional than I am, right? I can't help them. You can't help the alcoholic that's not willing to be an alcoholic. But if they say 6 out of 10, I know it's good, but I'd like the other 4. Good, there's some ambition. What is stopping the other 4 making the choice? They don't get it. Well, they're the beginner, you're the expert. Is it their fault for not getting it or your fault for not making it easy enough? Are you blaming them for to not know, or are you blaming yourself? Blame yourself. I'll make it easier. They're only seeing price. Why are they only seeing price? Because I'm not showing value. Good, blame yourself, solve it.
Yeah.
Look for problems, look every time. Don't say, I'm good at this, I'm good at that. Who cares? What aren't you good at? Because if you want to get better, you've got to turn the no's into yeses and the yeses into better yeses. No point blowing smoke up your bum. Keep telling yourself you're great at things. Well, that's where you are. That'll keep you stationary. If you find a problem, you can find a solution, you'll make progress. If you have no problems, you can't solve nothing, you'll stay the same. Don't tell yourself what you're good at. Find what you're not good at. Be honest with yourself, even if it's just yourself. Be honest with yourself. I'm not confident selling myself. I'm uncomfortable bringing up price. I know my message is too confusing. I'm not good at demonstrating value. I find selling techniques sleazy. Whatever, I don't care. But the only way to progress is to try and deliberately find problems. Go looking for them deliberately.
No, and that's a great attitude, and an attitude I think you're right is sometimes lacking in people because they don't want to open themselves up to that feeling a little bit vulnerable, feeling raw, feeling not quite capable. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on in terms of imposter syndrome, and when you're saying to yourself, "I can't do X, I'm not very good at Y," etc., you are then opening yourself to feeling that imposter.
Add a word. Yet.
Gone. Yet.
That's it.
Yes.
I'm not good at it. Yet. I'm not good at cooking. Yet. Tiger Woods didn't wake up one morning, go straight onto the golf course, chip it straight, hole in one, brilliant. I think at the age of 3, 4, he'd been hacking around like everyone else. Gordon Ramsay didn't wake up, Michelin-starred food. He did beans on toast and I bet he burnt it. Right? You can't get good unless you're willing to be bad.
Great.
You can't get good. And it's like, but this was my problem when I was going up because I didn't want to make mistakes. So I would think and overthink and overthink and overthink, and I'd try every permutation to make sure I never made a mistake, so I never did anything. I would be so consumed about not making any mistakes that I didn't do anything and I just procrastinated and never moved. And then I learned by having conversations, the quickest way to learn is to fail faster. Yeah. Make the mistakes quicker. You learn more from making a mistake, so fail quicker. And don't look at it as a negative. Think, well, I learned 10 times more from getting it wrong than getting it right. Well, fail faster then. You'll get to your target. If you avoid failing, you never make any progress. So it's like, I know there's books on go for no's and everything, but I'm not even down that. I'm not trying to get a no. I'm trying to work out why it's not a yes, but look for problems. Don't be worried about failing. The quicker you fail, the quicker you can get to learning what was actually right. That's the reason why everyone's good at their job, because whatever you're doing, you weren't at the beginning. You've just failed more times than they've tried. I've spent 26 years setting cars outside fields, coming out of a meeting that's taken me an hour to get there to sell some boilers or radiators, and I've completely filthed up the meeting, and I've cocked it up again and again and again and again. I can help people because I've failed more times than they've tried. There's nothing magical about anything I do. I'm not better than anyone else. I'm worse than everyone else at what I did. It's because I failed more times than they have that I can help. That's why. It's nothing, and that's why we're all better at doing it, because we probably failed more times than the person that's trying has failed. So we can tell from our experiences of how to get past that problem, how to not make it yourself.
Absolutely, and that comes very much again to the part of the reason we I do this is the same sort of thing, is that motivation to keep failing and keep trying to learn and keep to going for a new no, or whatever you want to call it, a new failure or a new lesson, can be quite challenging when it's just you there behind the like you say, driving up on your own, sitting there on your own, coming back on your own. How do you find the motivation to keep doing that?
So I mean, I'm like an eccentric introvert, right? So I don't think anyone will say, well, Ian's got no character whatsoever. He's very but I love spending time by myself. I've got 3 kids, one of each, right? But I spend a lot of time just by myself, not in great friendship circles. But I'd guess from my sort of flamboyance and bravado, it'd be like, oh, he must be out all the time doing stuff. But I'm like an extroverted introvert. So I was in sales on the road for nigh on 15 years, and there was only me. So I got very accustomed to, there's only me to remotivate myself all the time. I'm not in a team. I'm not in an office. I'm not in a merchant. So for me, I like that sort of working by yourself and finding that way to motivate. But again, you don't need a massive amount of friends. If you can find 2 or 3 other people that are close friends to you, that are all willing, because 9 times out of 10, when you say, I've got a little bit of a problem, everyone's got the same problem. You just thought you were by yourself. You go to let's say you've done 33 miles an hour in a 30 mile an hour zone. You're given the chance to go to one of those day courses where you can avoid putting your points on. They ask a question. Does everyone get what we're talking about? Dual carriageways, whatever it is. And no one dares put their hand. Anyone got any questions? No one's putting up their hand, right? Because they don't want to look like a pillock. One person's brave enough and he goes, yeah, can I just ask a question? And everyone turns to him and goes, thank you very much for asking that question, mate. I was thinking the same thing, right? You only need a handful of good friends that are all willing to open their chest and say, this is the real truth. Even if you pretend and make up cobblers about how well your business is going and how many people say yes to all the rest, but to a few very good friends, 2 or 3, you can tell the truth. You'll suddenly find everyone's got the same problem.
Yeah.
The same problems. They've not got enough conversations. Too many conversations fizzle out. They've tried this, it didn't work. They've tried that, it didn't work. And they go, that's me. You've just told me my entire story.
Yeah.
Okay, so 2 heads are better than 1. What did you find? And between you can work it out again. But you've got to have, for me, you've got to have 3 things. A burning desire to do better, whatever it is. The honesty to say you're not perfect and this is what you struggle with. And an open mind to new solutions. If you've got those 3 ingredients, I want to do more. I wouldn't mind. Pathetic. I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind. Rubbish. Don't bother yourself. I wouldn't mind going for a bit of a wander down the road, but I'd love to go to Disneyland. One's desire, one's just nothing. What's really stopping you? Just be honest, at least with yourself and maybe your close friends, and are you willing to believe there's a solution out there, whatever it is, that maybe you haven't tackled before, maybe you didn't do it in the right way? Have you got an open mind, or have you already decided it won't work before you've even shown it? Because you can't teach someone who thinks it won't work for me. I already know. I can't help you then.
No, indeed.
I can do.
Yeah, no, indeed. So yeah, I would second that recommendation of finding some people to bounce your ideas off, to spend some time, to even just have a cup of coffee or whatever other kind of drink you like, even if it's virtual. Is definitely a key resource when you're doing a lot of this on your own. Definitely.
Yeah.
Yep, indeed. One last thing before we well, there are two last things. One last thing is I always try and ask people, because primarily for me, because I like to hear people's book recommendations. Do you have a book that you recommend, or you have gifted to people, sort of, and you would recommend here? It doesn't have to be business. It doesn't have to be.
No. And this, you can choose to believe it or not. You might go, Ian is probably the cleverest man I've ever met in my entire life. And I know you're not thinking that, really. I'm joking, right? I promise you, the last book I read was in 1984. And it wasn't the book, 1984. It was the BFG in 1984. And I'm not even convinced that I actually read all of the book, but skimmed the front cover, the back cover, and maybe a few pages. I personally do not like reading, right? I do not like reading. Now, mathematics was never a reading subject. It was questions, answers, worked examples. And that's what I did very well at. English and geography and history, I had no time for that because that involved reading. At best now I read tweets, one line deep, translated from Japanese or whatever. I'm on some gaming site. If I was to give a recommendation, I don't know what it would be worth. If you probably heard of the BFG, the last book, and it's not even technically a book, in 2010, I bought the TV Quick, the TV listings. It showed you what's on ITV in 2010 over Christmas. So if I'm going to recommend a book, it's the TV Quick from 2010 Christmas listings. If you still find it useful to know that Noel's House Party was on and Ghostbusters was on again, because you'd forgotten some of the words, that would be the last book. I'm genuinely not lying. I have read zero books in the 2000s.
To be honest, I know that is the case. I also know that we also have a joy. It used to be the radio times rather than TV Quick. We used to get the radio times for Christmas every Christmas, and the kids used to sit there together and work out what their Christmas viewing schedule is. Going to watch this thing, going to watch that. Never watched half of them.
No, and especially now, that was a real. You used to get the radio times or the TV times, right? This great monster that was 3 times bigger than any other publication. I used to be there at 8 or 9 years old, thumbing through it, working out how many days it was. 6 days to the Christmas, and then 7 days, and all this afterwards. And going, they got Superman 2 on again, and Ghostbusters, and Never Ending Story. And you'd mark it all out. And like you say, you never got round to watching any of them because you completely forgot. But it was a part.
Oh, and absolutely, completely.
The whole planning round TVs for me just gone now. It just doesn't exist.
No, completely. I agree completely. It's exactly the same. You say it used to be very much planning this. All the kids stuff in the mornings, and Abbott and Costello used to be all in the mornings as well. And then, like you say, that once Christmas came, you were just spending your time playing with all your toys and stuff and all your gifts. Thank you very much for a great conversation, and I will. I say this all the time, and some of it is a fib, some of it isn't. No, it's never a fib. I always have great conversations. I do need to come and bring you along sometime again in the future to carry on with these conversations. But in the meantime, if someone wanted to find out a little bit more about what you do, where you are, where's the best place for them to find you?
One of two. If you're on iangenius.co.uk, that's the website, iangenius.co.uk, spelt as my name, just glued together. On the far right-hand side, there's a button that says resources. There's a free ebook. There's a free loss calculator where you can put 3 numbers in. It will show you how much money you're leaving behind and how much money you could make. There's a 12-minute training video, and there's a full 56-minute workshop, all free of charge to watch. So there's loads. So iangenius.co.uk. The only other easy method is if people are on LinkedIn, just search for Ian Genius. You'll see a shaved version of Ian Genius, as the picture probably has, with probably a blue and white explosion. And again, down there, there's buttons that will take you there. Last week I got my 99th LinkedIn recommendation. So the reviews say it infinitely better than I ever could. If they scroll down and go, is this Ian Genius really a nutcase? Yes, he is actually, as it happens. And you'll see that over and over again. But there's about 99 impassioned reviews from every industry known to man. But they're the two means: LinkedIn Ian Genius or iangenius.co.uk. There's 4 freebies there to have a read, watch, play around with to your heart's content.
Brilliant. Well, thanks again, Ian. It's been lovely talking to you. And like I said, I will definitely recommend others to go and check you out at iangenius.co.uk. And like you say, LinkedIn, pop along and find you, because I think you'll be the only Ian Genius in there. So you won't have to find
definitely. It's not going to be that hard to find.
No, indeed. Definitely. So thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, for listening. We've been a bit erratic on and off with these podcasts or these lives. We hope to get some more going over the next couple of weeks. In the meantime, thank you very much for listening. In the meantime, I hope your second half is your best half, and I will see you when we're next up.